Hi, welcome back to Herbal Blends Pharmacy. My name is Dr. Tamitha Davis. Today we're going to be talking about B12 and where we can get it and how it's found in nature. First, I want to say that if I sound nasally and congested, my ears are plugged up and I don't know if I'm catching a cold or something's happening, but yeah, I just feel like I can hear myself talking. Like, I know I can hear myself talking, but it's like, it's like this echo in my ear. So yeah, so if I sound a little bit weird, that's what's going on. All right, so one of the things that a lot of people has been asking me is like B12, and there's like a lot of other videos where people are talking about B12 deficiencies and symptoms that they are having because of B12. And the question kind of comes up with, why are a lot of people B12 deficient? Why are we not getting enough B12? And I'm going to cover some of those answers in this video. Several years ago, probably like 6-7 years ago, I went mostly plant-based and I stopped eating meat, and the doctors were like freaking out because they're like, you're not going to have enough B12. And so they were monitoring that, and my B12 has always been fairly high, and they're like, okay, you're not eating meat, you're not doing any of that. And I'm like, no, I'm just doing mostly plant-based and everything. And then when I got pregnant, I told him, because I kind of freaked out. I was like, okay, we need B12. I'll tell you why we need B12 here in a second. But B12 is very essential for pregnancy. So I had my B12 checked, and I was in the normal range according to their little study, but I was lower than what I wanted to be at. So I started taking a B12 supplement, which I will talk about here in a minute. And I started feeling a bit better because I was kind of a little bit low on energy, but it wasn't extremely low. So I just wanted it to come up just a little bit, and by supplementing that, I have been feeling a little bit better. All right, so let's talk about what is B12. B12 is responsible for building your red blood cells, your nerve cells, your brain cells, helps with muscular development, it helps to prevent birth defects, it also gives you energy, and it helps to build your DNA. So where do we get our B12? Well, if you talk to most nutritionalists and doctors, they're going to tell you that you have to get it from red meat. And it's true, red meat has a lot of B12, but you don't have to get it from red meat. I went plant-based, as I mentioned, and the doctors were concerned with this, that I won't have enough B12, but my B12 has always been within normal range. I've always had the energy and everything. So I'm like, all right, if B12 only comes from red meat, where are these cows getting it? Because cows aren't eating red meat. And then why is my B12 still within normal range? And that's where I always tell people, what is nature doing that we're not doing? So I go to the source. I go into nature. I started doing research on B12. B12 is actually a bacteria that is found in soil. And now this is healthy soil. A lot of farmers are depleting their soil of nutrition, so they have to add synthetic fertilizers to get their plants and stuff to grow, and they're not getting natural. They just make the plants grow nice and natural, and they're not actually getting any nutrients from the soil which nature has intended. So when you have, I did another study, if you have grass-fed cows versus grain-fed cows, a lot of farmers are having these grass-fed cows. Now they are still getting, the grain-fed cows are still getting some of the B12, but not as much as the grass-fed cows. I'm like, I wonder why that is. So B12, it's found in soil. It's a bacteria that's found in the soil. So when the cows are eating the grass, they're getting some of that soil, and the grass itself is taking up the B12, and that's how the cows are actually getting their B12, and it's stored in their tissue, and then we eat the cows, and therefore we get the B12. So if you are vegetarian or vegan and you're not eating red meat, you may be asking, okay, well, where are we getting our B12? How can we get our B12? Where am I getting my B12? I like to grow my own stuff in healthy soil. I don't use a lot of synthetic fertilizers. I use organic material. I try to rebuild my soil every single year. I do a no-till method. I do the back to Eden method. And I don't wash my plants thoroughly enough. Like my potatoes, my root vegetables, my carrots, my beets, things like that. I usually pull them out of the ground, maybe do a quick little rinse. There's lots of times I'm like eating stuff out of the ground from my garden. And I just wipe off some of the dirt. I'll have like a bucket with some water and I'll just rinse it off and just start eating it. The bacteria stays from the soil, stays on these root vegetables. Also mushrooms. Mushrooms are high in B12 and they grow in dirt, they grow in soil. And you're not supposed to wash them because if you wash the mushrooms, it can actually break it down and they get waterlogged and stuff. So they recommend that you don't even wash your mushrooms, and you get the B12 from the mushroom. It's from the soil, the bacteria from the soil. So if we can just go out and do what nature has intended us to do and not wash and scrub everything. I'm talking about scrubbing. I mean, you can rinse off some of the dirt. You don't want to do like hot water or anything. I just always use just, water that I have outside to rinse off things, and then I just eat it. I'm not worried about that. I've been doing this ever since I was a kid, like just pulling turnips out of the ground. And my daughter, she pulled one out that was in steer manure. And I was like, oh God, that's so gross. I mean, she wiped it off, and then I was like, that has cow poop in it, right? And she's like, huh? And she ate it. She's, she eats red meat. She's not deficient in B12. But it's so important for us to have B12 because it does play a huge role in our metabolism and our nerve cells and blood cells and things that I already just mentioned. But we can get it from nature. And if you're vegetarian, you can get your B12 from nature as long as you're paying attention to what you're eating. A lot of vegetarians are eating processed and synthetic meat material and stuff made from soy and everything that's not good for you, because even though you may be vegetarian or vegan or whatever, it doesn't equal healthy, and a lot of times they have to supplement with taking B12. Right now, I got pregnant towards the end of summer, and it's not growing season right now. I do have some beets and stuff that's outside growing, but I try to, remember to source my stuff local farmers and stuff that may be able to grow, and ask those questions. Hey, are you using synthetic fertilizers? Are you rebuilding your soil? You can ask those questions, or just start growing your own stuff. And I do a lot of gardening videos, so I can show you guys in the springtime how you can help to rebuild your soil and everything. But that's where B12 comes from. It's a bacteria found in the soil, and that's how the cows get their B12 in their meat. So you don't need to actually eat them. I mean, I'm not saying you have to go vegetarian, but there are people out there who's vegetarian, plant-based, whatever, vegan, and that's how you can actually get your B12. You can also get B12 from nutritional yeast. I have ate a lot of nutritional yeast. It's not a consistent everyday thing, but I do like to use it 3 or 4 times a month. And since I became pregnant, I had them check my B12 because I just want to know where all my levels and stuff are. It was within a normal range, but it's still low, what I consider low. So that's why I started to do a vegan supplement for the B12, and I feel fine. I may have that checked in my next appointment. Ask her to recheck my B12. It's in January. So anyway, I hope this video is helpful and I didn't ramble on too much. I know sometimes my brain just kind of goes, because I'm a female and my brain goes all over the place. I want to say like 10,000 things at one time, and yeah, and I'm pregnant, and my mind goes a mile a minute anyway. So all right, I'm rambling. So I will see you guys in the next video. I think my next video I'm going to talk about either iron or zinc or some other mineral and how we can find that in nature as well. All right, you guys, I'll see you in the next video. Like I already said, bye.